And welcome to Kidlit Live. I'm Arden Jones. I'm really excited today. I have a guest he's been booked on the show for ages actually, and I'm so glad we've now got around to today and he's going to join me. His name is Mark A. Smith and he's an author, and his book Slugboy Saves the World won the Kelpies Prize and it's just hilarious. So I'm really excited to chat to him to find out about his writing journey, his querying journey, and what is coming up next. So let's bring Mark on. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them on the YouTube channel. That's the only way I get to see anything that comes through, or if you just wanted to say hi. Unfortunately, on Twitter, it doesn't come through onto this streaming service. So I'll just bring Mark on now. Hello.
Hi, Arden.
Hi.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, I know we spoke ages ago. I feel like it's like months and months ago that we had agreed this. So I was like booking quite in advance because I had a lot of people wanting to come on the show. So I'm so glad that you, when I put the call out, you was one of those, and that we finally got here so we can chat about your books and your journey and everything. So I'm really, really pleased. So how are you? How is so where are you? You're up north, aren't you?
I'm on the east coast of Scotland, so
amazing.
We're getting battered by a storm, and hopefully don't go out whilst we're doing the interview. If they do, I'll get a candle or something, I guess. That'll be but yeah, it's nice. I'm on holiday at the minute as I'm a teacher, so I've had the last couple of weeks off. I should be well rested, but I'm not, because I've been writing. But once that later, I'll be fine.
Oh, amazing! No, it's raining down here, so I think I'm in Essex, so like nearly all the way down south. So yeah, it's raining heavy here, so I think it's battering the whole of the country at the moment. But I love Scotland. I went there last year to the Highlands, and it was just like I just felt at home. I loved it so much that I just think one day that will be where I will find a home there, because it's just something special about Scotland, isn't there?
Well, you'd be most welcome. It's all within reach as well. Like, you don't have to go too far. Like, there's beautiful views and landscapes and places to visit. So yeah, we've just these holidays we've stayed home, but we've travelled to a lot of places with the kids to see things and do things. It's a really lovely place.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's cold and it's wet, but it's nice.
Yeah, I do know it's a bit colder. I do feel like in the winter we'd probably get a little bit more sunlight down here. So but still, I still loved it. But so let's get started. Let's talk about books and writing, one of the best things ever. So what I always ask everybody when they come on, because I feel like we all want to know where we all started as writers or creatives, and so many people have so many different amazing stories to tell. But I feel like one thing that always stands out is, although maybe people have not always written books, they've always had like a love for writing for books. So if you could, let's start with how your journey happened. Have you always known that you wanted to be a writer, and even especially a children's writer?
I mean, I think so. I think I've always wanted to be a writer. I mean, certainly I've always loved making up stories. Whether I was just playing with my toys when I was a kid and making up storylines for the characters, or playing in the playground. But I mean, my parents have certainly got stories still that I wrote as a 7-year-old, which were mostly about aliens and zombies and superheroes. And 30 years later, I'm still writing about aliens and zombies and superheroes. Clearly, I've grown up.
So cool, though.
But when I was a kid, I loved superhero comics. And I thought I wanted to write and illustrate comics. That's what I wanted to do. And my parents worked at DC Thompson's as artists. So they were in like the Beano and the Jackie magazine and things like that.
Oh.
So I came from an artistic background, and I thought illustration was the way I was going to go. So as a kid, I spent hours and hours drawing all these characters, and, they'd be bashing each other over the head with things. And eventually had to work out why they were bashing each other over the head with things. So I made up the stories, and as I got into my teens, the writing side of things took over a bit. I found I could sort of express my ideas a lot more clearly with words than I could with pictures. That was maybe just because I wasn't very good at drawing the pictures. But when you're writing, you can make up amazing, fantastic things. If you want a 500 feet tall creature destroying a city, you can write that. I mean, that's no problem. If you're going to illustrate it, that becomes a little bit more challenging. And then, of course, I got to the point of going to university, and it was sort of a choice between doing an English degree or going to art college. And I ultimately went for the English, just based on my love of writing. I was a big reader. It was a lot of comics. But when I went to university, obviously I read very widely, as you would expect. And that actually helped bring on my writing a lot, because I was reading different genres and, a massive range of things, from classics to like contemporary horrors and gothic things. And that was really an eye-opener. That was really exciting for me. And when I was at uni in my fourth and final year, I got accepted onto their first ever creative writing module, which was amazing. I had to write a story to get accepted onto it. So I wrote a superhero story, obviously. But I got on and I worked. My tutor was an author called Kirsty Gunn. And this was like the first time I'd ever met a real life author. And so she was quite inspirational, and she was really encouraging and supportive. And that, again, really helped me sort of develop my craft early on. And then after uni, I took a year out to write a novel, which was a young adult horror with vampires and werewolves and zombies and ghosts, and basically every sort of supernatural creature was thrown in there, and it was a mess. It was horrible. Like one chapter,
all first novels, especially and first drafts, are. I think you can allow that.
Yeah. Oh, but this was something special. It was like one chapter I wrote in rhyming couplets, because I don't know why. Some of it was like first person present tense, and that was like a flashback, and then it was third person past tense, and then but I didn't quite finish it either, funnily. But I learned a lot from the process, and it was an important step for me. And in that year, I wrote a lot of short stories. I wrote some comic book scripts, but I didn't feel I'd quite found my niche. Like, I wasn't just flowing as I'd like it to. And then it came time to actually get a job, because I thought, you have to do that at some point. So I became a primary teacher. And that is when I discovered that I really loved reading children's stories, children's novels. And and I really enjoyed writing them as well. So that's where I found my audience. I guess the rest is sort of history. But that's where it came from. Once I was in the primary school, and I was seeing all these stories, reading these stories to the children, with the children, I was like, oh yeah, I could do this. This is good. I like it.
I think I have some teacher friends. My degree was in education as well, and I feel like being around children there's such an inspiration for storytelling. But when you're reading to them like nearly like every day, and reading books, and the inspiration that you get and the love for literature, especially children's, is huge. And it's such an important place to be, I think, in children's literature. It's the first books that they read. It makes them fall in love with reading, and it's just an amazing feeling just finding a book that a child loves, and even more amazing if it's a book that you've written and you find out the child loves it. But just finding other authors and just seeing children's faces light up when they're reading and when you're reading to them, I don't think there's anything better than that, is there? It's just amazing.
No, it's great. I think especially now, technology's come so much into their lives, and I guess a lot of children that I've worked with, they don't read for pleasure as much as maybe children used to, or as much as I'd like them to. And yeah, it's finding a book that they love. I love reading funny books to the class, because some of them have never experienced it before, and they're laughing and they're rolling about on the floor, like in a really organized way.
Of course.
Great. I'm the school librarian as well, so I get to be in charge of buying all the books in for the school. It's like, oh, God. So it's just try to find different genres, different things that appeal to all the wide range of tastes in the school. Is really
Well, I think like humor as well. I mean, obviously you write humor. That is so important. If a child falls in love with that book, if they find it funny, they're going to want to explore more books because they would enjoy that. And it's so sad to know that so many children aren't read to at home, whether it's for all different reasons. And it's such a sad thing to hear about. Like, so my daughter is in like reception and they're reading to her every day, and obviously I encourage the reading side of things all the time, but it's like the teacher said, like so many children just are not reading, and I just find it so sad. So my daughter brings a book in really often, like very often, and wants her teacher to read it. And I'm like, he has got his own books that he can read to the class, but she's bringing in the funny ones because that's what she loves. So, and then I feel like that's putting her love for books onto the other children as well. And if the teacher's reading it out and the kids are laughing, then I think that's the start, and it changes their life. It's a wonderful thing. So we're talking about Huber, your book, your debut book, Slugboy Saves the World. It's a middle grade novel, and it was illustrated by Darren Gate. I do always like to mention illustrators; they play a huge part. It's like without those illustrations, I mean, the book would still be great, but they bring so much of it to life. And it was published in 2016 and it won the Kelpies Prize. So that's amazing. And you must have just been over the moon. But as well as that, it was also nominated for like lots of other awards too. So I feel like for your debut, that must have been an amazing experience. So would you be okay to tell us a bit about that journey and how it felt winning the Kelpies Prize and everything else that followed?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. So yeah, Slugboy's journey, it started actually when I was teaching in a nursery, teaching preschool children. I spent about 8 months working there when I was on supply, when I was not long out of uni. And I was reading picture books to them day in, day out. And that wasn't something I'd ever done. And I really enjoyed it. So I thought, well, I'll have a go writing some. Try writing else in the world. So why not try picture books? And I wrote one about this really rubbish superhero, which, I was pleased with. It was all rhyming again. And, I just left it somewhere to gather dust for a few years. But then a few years later, I was looking for an idea to develop into a middle grade novel so my first effort writing a middle grade novel. And I came back to that one. As I say, as a kid, I've loved superheroes. I've always read superhero comics. And I thought, if I'm going to try and write a book, that's probably what I should be writing about. That's the thing that I know the most. So I went back to that picture book. But I've always got a few things on the go. I'm always busy. And whilst I was working on writing the superhero novel, I decided to write and illustrate and self-publish a picture book called The Box, which I've got a really well-read copy of here that my son and daughter have sort of read a lot or a lot. So I wrote that, and it was just sort of try to get my foot into the door a little bit. And I went along to an event on children's publishing with my book. I'd taken it into schools and things like that, and kids seemed to like it. So I just went along to see, what's the next step? What can I do with this book? Where can I go with it? And I spoke to an agent there called Catherine Ross. And, she was really encouraging and asking about the book and things. And she said, are you writing anything else? Is there anything else you're working on? I said, yeah, I'm writing the superhero book. And she was like, all right, great. Are you going to enter it into the Kelpies Prize? So not wanting to seem like an idiot, I said, yes, of course I'm going to enter it. And I didn't know what that was. So after the event, I ran back to my car, mostly because I didn't want a parking ticket, but also I wanted to go home and find out what's a Kelpies Prize. I don't know. So I looked up on the internet. It's about as technical as I get. And I found out all the details, and basically you write a book, you send it in, and you hope for the best. And okay. The only thing was, this was at the end of November, and the deadline was the beginning of February. Well, all right. But I'd written maybe half of it, and I'd done it all handwritten in notebooks, because that's my process. I didn't have a laptop or a computer to type it on. So I had about 8 weeks to get it done. I was working, and obviously there was Christmas as well. So I thought, it's fine. It's fine. Just I'll go for it. You've sort of got to be in it to win it, sort of thing. What's the worst that could happen? So I got it in before the deadline, sent it in. Didn't really give it much thought after that. Just got back to my day-to-day routine. And then I guess it was a few weeks later, I got a letter from the publisher. I was like, oh, that's so nice. They've sent a rejection letter. Sometimes people don't send a rejection letter. That's really nice. So opened it up. It's like, dear Mr. Smith, thank you so much for entering, blah, blah, blah. I was going to get to the bit where it said it's not quite right for us. And it said something like, we're pleased to tell you that you've been shortlisted for this award, and would like to invite you along to the Edinburgh International Book Festival for the prize ceremony. I was like, what? And I sort of thought maybe they've sent it to the wrong person. And the thing that really confused me was they changed the title of the book. When I sent it in, it was called The World's Worst Superhero, and they changed it to Slugboy Saves the World. I was like, oh, my book. And I'd read the synopsis like, it is. They've sent it to the right person. So that was really exciting. I was the only person in at that point. My wife was out, so I had a little dance to myself. And then, I thought that's, for a first attempt at a novel, that's an achievement. I've been shortlisted for something, great. And I thought, when I was going along to the award ceremony, I was sort of thinking, I really need to make the most of the opportunity, because I didn't know any other authors. I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. So I just wanted to go along and sort of network with people and make a few contacts and just try and make a good impression on people. And it never once occurred to me that I might actually win. And then I did. So that came as a bit of a shock. It was totally surreal, and it was incredible. It was like an actual real life dream come true moment, and those don't come along very often. So you got to really enjoy it when it does. I've got some photographs taken that night, and I'm making some faces I've never made before, or absolutely, what's going on? But it was amazing. So yeah, from winning the prize to getting published was about 12 months. So in those,
was the prize being published with Kelpies? Is that how it worked?
Yeah. I mean, they gave me a lovely check, but yeah, the main thing, the book was getting published, which, as I say, was like an absolute dream come true. And over those sort of next 12 months, I worked really closely with an editor, and did some tweaks to the book and things, and I really enjoyed that process. That was really fun. If she came to me and said, this bit doesn't quite work, have you thought about doing this? I always sort of thought of it as a challenge. I was like, no, I'm going to do it slightly differently from that. And which I think she was happy with. So yeah, that was really fun. And then we launched it a year later at the Dundee Literature Festival, which is where I went to university. So that was really nice. And since then, I mean, I've done loads of book festivals, dozens and dozens of school visits. I've done libraries, bookshops, lots of things through the Summer Reading Challenge. And I just love it. I really love performing to an audience, interacting with the children. There was one festival I went to in Glasgow called the I Write Festival, at this amazing library. It's the biggest library in Scotland. And I think I performed to an audience of 400 in the morning, and then I had another 400 in the afternoon, and that was unbelievable.
That's amazing.
You're all mic'd up and things, and the children in the audience, there's someone running about with a microphone so they can ask questions and join in with things, which is really, really fun.
I'd be so scared. I'd really struggle with that, I think.
Once you're up there, there's not much else you can do. And for better or worse, my Slugboy event involves a little bit of singing, which I'm, not the best at, but there you go. So I'd sing the Slugboy theme tune to the audience, and they sing it back. And
it's got a theme tune. How did I not know this? I need
It's on YouTube. Check it out.
Is it out? Is it out there?
Yeah, you can get the theme tune. Half of the theme tune is on YouTube. I don't know how to upload the second half. It's beyond me. But yeah, it's been a crazy few years. It's been amazing. Like the opportunities that have come up, the people I've met, and yeah, it's wonderful. And I've learned loads and made loads of great friends and things. So yeah, it's been a really, really great journey.
Wow, that's incredible. That sounds like such an amazing journey. I was so intrigued when you mentioned that they changed the title. Did you chat about that with you? Did you say like I wasn't sure that it was mine? Like, and why did you do that?
No, I just said, sir, yes, sir. You do it. Like,
it's a great title. It is a really good title, isn't it?
Yeah. It came as a surprise when they sent it to me. I was like, yeah, that's fine by me. I mean, they know their stuff. They're the experts. As I say, it was my first time writing a book. I used The World's Worst Superhero as the title of the first chapter after that. So I'm just going to keep it in there. But yeah. I mean, it works. It's great.
Yeah, it really is. And I feel like so many people actually we like struggle with coming up with titles. You want this title that hooks an agent or an editor, but actually you'll find so many times that that title will be changed. The editor will say, no, I don't, I want it to be this, or I don't like that. But it's something that I feel like we agonize over a lot when we're writing our books. Either it comes naturally or it's like really, really difficult to find a good title. But actually it's not the most important thing. It's having your book, just getting your book finished and writing what you love. And I just think it really shows, obviously, throughout your writing journey and for what you've always enjoyed writing to then the book that is the one that becomes published is a book about superheroes. It's because it's from the heart, and that's so amazing.
Yeah, I think it's important that you write what you love, you write what you're interested in. You don't try and follow the trends or write what you think someone wants to read. You need to enjoy it. And if you're not enjoying writing it, then I guess no one's going to enjoy reading it.
What are you doing it for? It's like if you're writing just to get published, I feel that will really show. I mean, it's maybe not for some people. Some people are so naturally talented that they could put their hand to it and write anything. But I think for us, for the majority of us that are writing because we love it, that really shows through our work. And it's just you can see when you're reading a book from somebody that how much heart is in that, and I love that about writing. It's amazing. And the same with illustrations as well. There's so many amazing illustrators out there, and you can see that they just love what they do. And again, like the front cover of Slugboy Saves the World, it's so it just stands out. It's so bright and colourful and so child friendly, and so what a child would walk past the shop and just want to see what that book was about. So yeah, because it was illustrated by Darren Gay, and I think we all not quite sure what it's like actually working with an illustrator. So how was it for you? Did you have much did you chat about it a bit? Because I feel like we hear a lot is that we'll send our stuff to the agent will send our stuff to publishers. Publishers then decide who they want to illustrate it, and then there's like no talk between the writer and illustrator. But then sometimes you hear that actually that does happen. So it's really interesting to hear people's stories. So what was it like for you working with an illustrator on your book?
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, Darren, to become the illustrator of the book, he actually entered the Kelpies Illustration Prize.
Oh, wow.
Slugboy had won the writing prize a few months earlier, and then the publisher, Floris Books in Edinburgh, decided for the illustration prize, the winner would do the cover of the book. So it was a similar process. People from all over sent in their mock-ups of the cover, and then there was a short list of 10 artists, and there was a prize ceremony again in Edinburgh, and I went along to this, and they had all of the front covers displayed on the walls, and it was amazing to see like all the different interpretations of the character and all the different versions. I mean, so much imagination, so much effort. Like someone had made it glow in the dark. I don't know how they did that. That's really, really cool. But yeah, there's a young gentleman called Darren Gate from Glasgow, and I'd seen the shortlisted covers before the award, and that was the one I was rooting for. I mean, they were all wonderful, but I thought that one just hit the right sort of tone for me. It was just, funny and silly enough, and really child friendly. It really appealed to kids, I felt. So he won, which was great. And yeah, as you say, like in terms of front covers, like I know people say, don't judge a book by its cover, but children will judge your book by its cover. It has to be a good cover. It has to be.
I feel I do. I still do. Whether it's an adult book or a children's book, I will look at that cover, and I will. If I wouldn't say I wouldn't take a book because I didn't like the cover, but I would probably not have picked it up if I wasn't intrigued by the cover. So yeah.
I think that's especially true of children's books. And then when Darren won the illustration prize, we then found out he was going to do the interior illustrations as well, which was a big deal because Floris's books hadn't had interior illustrations up to that point, I think I'm right in saying. So I was really excited because part of the book, after every adventure, there was pages I'd designed to look like top trumps cards, but were bottom trumps cards because bottoms are funnier. And that would tell you about all the different superheroes that were in each adventure and all the supervillains. So Darren was going to illustrate these cards to go into the book. And well, I know you're asking, did you have any dialogue between you and the artist? Well, I'm a bit of a control freak, unfortunately for Darren. And I'm also, I think, very visually, I think because of the artistic background as well, I had a very clear sense of what these characters should look like, etc., etc. So I sent Darren, I think, 10 pages of notes and possibly some sketches. It's like, have some freedom with it. You're the creative one. You do what you think, but these are my thoughts. Do with them as you will. And he knocked out of the park. They're absolutely fantastic. I love his illustrations. But there was one character that I did feel really strongly about, and I'll show you. I've got the book here. There's one character in the book called Arnold Armstrong, who I actually created about 10 years earlier, when I was making a comic book called The Adventure Squad. And The Adventure Squad made it into the book, and Arnold made it into the book 10 years later. But I'd drawn him so many times myself. I knew what he looked like. It's like, he has to look like this. Is that okay? And bless him, he like, I'll show you. I don't know how well you'll see it, but he's basically the spitting image of the character that I drew 10 years earlier. I was so pleased with it. Was, once it sent that out to him, he then had like full control. He worked with the artistic team, at Floris on the illustrations and things. And as I say, I was so pleased with the outcome. Couldn't be happier.
Yeah, I can imagine. They're amazing, and they're just so what I can see how much children would love them. It's just amazingly illustrated, but when you're a child, it's how you picture illustrations to be, if that makes sense. It's like if you were to try and draw, you would try and draw to be like that. So I can really just imagine how they would really love them. It's amazing, and such amazing well done to both of you for collaborating and getting this book done, because it's gorgeous, and I'm so glad that it's just out there in the hands of so many children to enjoy. So when it comes to the books, obviously this book was published, you won the prize, but there are other ways to having books published, and we know that obviously we're told we need to find an agent and everything like that. And you're represented by this. I want to make sure I get the name to pronounce it right, because I think it's pronounced different to how it looks for me to read it. So it's by the Tilds Agency. Is that how you would say it? Or because when you read it says Tiled, and I read it as like Tileds, but I'm Tilds, but anyway, but by the Tilds Agency, I think it is. So could you tell us about your querying journey? Because I can imagine it's got a brilliant story alongside the same, because your publishing story is amazing. So I'm looking forward to hearing all about your querying journey too.
Thank you. I mean, the querying journey, I guess, was a bit different because, I mean, when Slugboy came out, I didn't know anything about the publishing industry. I wasn't on social media. I didn't know any friends who wrote. I mean, for a long time, I think people were confused when I said I'm going off to do some writing now. They're like, what are you writing? Why are you writing? What's happening? I don't know. Anyway, so I think to begin with, I was quite naive. I mean, I didn't even know what an agent was exactly or what they did. And because I was published through the Kelpies Prize, sort of straight away, I sort of had my foot in the door already. And for a few years, I went it alone. I just, I didn't know any better. But as I got to know the industry more, as I got a better idea of expectations and of how things worked, I realised that a lot of publishers won't accept unsolicited material, as you'll know. If you want to be knocking on the door of particularly the bigger publishers in London and things like that, then you need to have representation, you need to have an agent. And by this point I'd made a lot of great friends and made a lot of great connections with authors and people in publishing. And they started, pointing me in the right direction, gave me advice and things, and that was great. And I tried a couple of agents and got like really good feedback and really positive, but a couple of them are, ultimately it's not quite right for us. Like, that's fine, no problem. And as I might have mentioned, I came to social media quite late in life. I don't know when I joined Twitter a few years ago, or is it called X now? I don't understand.
I'm still going to call it Twitter.
Let's call it Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
For the purposes of this, we're going to call it Twitter. So I joined Twitter and that was great. That opened up loads of new doors to me. Made loads of great, met lots of authors and editors and agents and all sorts of people, writers and teachers, like reading teachers who love books through Twitter. Is great. And loads of opportunities came along, like for events and things like that. And then one day I noticed a post from the even I can't say it properly, the Child's Agency. It sounds like Child's Agency, but it's subtle. It's child. You'll have to ask my agent. So sorry, Kate. Child's Agency.
I feel like I should have just said it how I read it, and then I wouldn't have made this big emphasis on how it needs to be pronounced. So I'm really sorry. Sorry, Kate. I'm sorry.
She'll forgive us, hopefully. Anyway, so this agency had posted on Twitter, and it was a brand new agency, and they were wanting to represent teachers who were writers. And I was like, that's me. I am a teacher and I write. So I got in touch with them, and yeah, the agent there, the boss, Kate Scarborough, she's lovely. And I think sometimes, like in life, but particularly with writing, you just need the right person to come along at the right time. Whether it's your manuscript landing on the desk of the right editor. But for me, it was, I sort of found Kate at exactly the right point. And yeah, I think I'm right in saying I was her first client, which was cool.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was lovely, and she's amazing. She's like really knowledgeable of the industry. She's got lots of years experience working in the industry in lots of different roles, and she's really encouraging. She's really supportive, and it's since getting an agent, I've written a lot more. Like I've produced a lot more. I think just knowing that my work is being seen by editors, that Kate's taking it to like the Bologna Literacy Festival and the London Book Fair and things like that, and speaking to editors and pushing it for me there, has really motivated me and encouraged me to write more and to give myself deadlines and make sure it's getting out there. And that's like her main advice to me is just keep on writing, keep on sending me things we can get out there, and as many people as possible want to see these things and get your name out there. And yeah, so I guess I went around getting an agent almost backwards. Like I got published and then I went and found an agent. But that's been really good as well, and it's all been a learning experience. And yeah, it's really nice. It's nice having someone in your corner, sort of fighting your battles, and it gives me more time to focus on the writing side of things as well, because I don't then have to be contacting editors and publishers and submitting things myself, which can take a lot of hours when you'd much rather just be writing the stories. So yeah, it's been fab.
Yeah, it's I love listening to people's journeys when they've been looking for an agent, or whether they're looking to publish directly with the publisher. Just hearing their different journeys, and I think, like, absolutely right. You need they are there fighting your corner. They believe in you so much, and to have someone like that, it gives you. I mean, I don't know about you, but I do suffer a lot with imposter syndrome. But knowing I have someone that believes in what I'm writing, but will also tell me this isn't ready, or you need to do this, it's just so helpful. And I feel not just agents, writing groups and friends can do that, like writing friends as well can do that. And having them people that are there to support you is just so important for your journey, because I think if we just carried on writing with everyone just telling us our work was just great without this constructive feedback that we get from our agents and from friends, like I'd think we probably wouldn't be getting as far as we do, because they make our work so much better. And it's so good to hear that your journey with your agent is going so well, because it's just amazing, because you want it to be this lifelong relationship with them. If you want to write for that to be a part of your career, then you want this to be a journey that you can be together on for a really long time. So having the right agent is so important, and it sounds like you have, and that you've got a really good relationship, so that's amazing.
Yeah, I'm really lucky, and I think I mean, Kate's based in England, and so, but having the technology that we can just have a quick video chat about things and just touch base is really good fun. And yeah, as I say, she's really supportive, and just she wants me to achieve. She wants me to do well. She wants the books out there, and as I say, she believes in them, and that's nice as well. Because you're sort of, when you're writing, you're in your own little world, and you have this story, and it's your thing for so long, and you think you're doing your best, and you want to do your best, but just having that extra set of eyes and ears and the experience and the knowledge to have a look at that and say, well, yes, good. Have you thought about this? Like, oh yeah, I should have thought about that. It's really, really helpful. It's good. And I've never been in a book group or anything like that. I've never been on Write Mentor or Scooby or anything like that. So
would you consider ever being a part of a community like that? I don't mean like even being in a critique group, but just joining, having friends and all being within a community that you've all have similar interests, and you're big like, oh, I constantly like supporting each other and helping each other through some really difficult times at times.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. I mean, again, it's all time. I like yourself. I've got 2 young children, and you want to spend all your waking hours with them, and it's got to squeezes out everything else. So it's hard. But like in the summer there, I went to a Scottish children's publishing picnic in Edinburgh, and I met loads of authors there and people involved in the Scottish Book Trust and things like that. And it was lovely. Like, I was a bit nervous going along, so like I don't know anyone that's going to be there, but then it's so nice to speak to other writers and authors and illustrators and people involved in books, because you just get on so well and have so much to chat to them about. And then I went to another social recently. It was the Children's Books North social, and I met like a couple.
It's run by Hachette. Is that one, isn't it? It's run by Hachette. Yeah.
And it was cool. I met a couple like my writing heroes, like trying not to, I come across like really, confident and cool and stuff. I was like, I got your books, they're really good. Could you say one? Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was nice. yeah, I would love to, if time allows, at some point maybe get involved in something like that. Because it's really good to have a network, like a supportive network of people who know what you're going through and can speak to you about their experiences and things like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Twitter, like you mentioned earlier, it was for me the first thing that got me within like being involved at all in any form of writing community. And that wasn't even, I mean, that did lead on eventually to joining Write Mentor, but just meeting people on Twitter was just a huge deal for me. And you mentioned that earlier. So I think just being on there is amazing. So let's just hope that that doesn't ever disappear, as much as we keep hearing that it might go one day if everybody leaves. But I'm still there. I'm still hanging on for dear life until that day hopefully doesn't come, because Twitter changed my life really when it comes to writing. So I'll be staying until the very end.
Yeah, we'll just sort of plant our flag in the ground, like we will not go.
Exactly.
So you ask me for something, and then we're all going to go.
Yeah. Well, I've never been one to follow a crowd, so I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see what happens. But still on talking about querying, do you have any top tips that you could give to authors that are out there trying to get an agent, because it's so hard out there?
Yeah, it is really, really hard, but it's possible, because if I can do it, then anybody could do it. I wrote a few things down actually, because I didn't want to miss anything out. But what I would say is, in publishing, generally things feel like they happen very slowly. It can take a long time to hear back from people. I mean, it can be up to 6 months sometimes before you get anything back. So you have to be patient. Like, patience is key.
Sometimes never. Sometimes you feel like you're being ghosted. It's really hard out there.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm lucky in that I'm always sort of in the present. Like, as soon as I've sent something off, I forget about it and I move on to the next thing. I know some people sort of hang on and hang
You're
on.
not like me. Refresh. I wish I was like you.
But I mean, not everyone will be like that. So it's really important just to focus on, getting on with your life and focusing on and always working on something whilst you're waiting to hear back from people. I mean, I know some people who are getting publishing contracts now for books they've written maybe 2 or 3 years ago that won't actually be printed until something like 2025.
Mm-hmm.
A massive long wait sometimes. So yeah, patience is key. And you need to be prepared for knockbacks, because I mean, it happens. It's part of the process. Getting publishing is hard. Like, a lot of the publishers now only publish maybe 1 or 2 debut novelists every year. Your established authors, celebrity authors, these are they're getting published all the time. But if you're just trying to break into the industry, it's a bit of a mountain to climb. But again, you can do it. People can do it. You just have to stay positive, don't give up, and keep writing. Like, that's the most important thing. Write, again, I think I said it earlier, but write what you enjoy, write what you're interested in, write for yourself almost, and not for anyone else. Like, yes, you want other people to enjoy it, of course you do, but you need to enjoy it. You have to love what you're writing, otherwise why would you do it?
Yeah, plus you have to read it a million times. So if you hate what you're writing, you're going to be bored.
And the other thing is, never throw away ideas and never throw away characters. I mean, like Slugboy Saves the World, that was a picture book that I'd written 5 or 6 years earlier that I came back to. I think the character Arnold Armstrong had made him up 10 years earlier. Ultimately he didn't go anywhere for a long, long time, but he was there and I used them, and he's sort of become one of the most popular characters when I'm out in schools and doing events that kids really respond well to him. So yeah, you never know when something will come in handy. But yeah, just keep going, and as long as you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh, great advice, great tips. And I think I totally agree with everything that you said, but especially just keep your ideas, because that might have gone, maybe that's been queried, maybe that's been out on submission and it didn't work, but it doesn't mean that that idea will never work, that like 4 years down the line you can take something from that and turn it into something new, or that is then right for for another person at that time. I just think there's always something that you can take from something that maybe wasn't quite right at that point. And if you believe in it enough, then don't give up on it. I totally agree with that, what you said.
And one day, who knows, someone might come to me and say, Mark, we would love a young adult horror story written in rhyming couplets with just monsters in it. And I'm like, yeah, I've got one of those. That's fine.
Oh, do you know what? I'm really trying to imagine like a rhyming couplet horror story, because when I think of rhyming couplets, I think of like quite joyful, happy. But we want to turn that dark and have some really gothic, like rhyming couplets. I can imagine that would be really cool. I think you should try to give it a go again.
I'll see.
Send it to me. I want to read it.
Okay.
But yeah, so writing, it takes up a lot of time. And you also, like you said, you're a primary school teacher. So, and we know that, I feel like teachers get a raw deal. We get, well, you have all these holidays and all this stuff, but outside of these times, you're planning, you're doing so much to, you're not just there, not 9 till 3 teaching children. There's a lot more to it, but you're, as well as everything that you're planning and everything that you're doing for your school, you're also writing. How are you managing this? How do you fit it all in?
Well, yeah, as you say, teaching's a crazy job. At the end of every day, you're physically and mentally exhausted. I mean, I love my job, don't get me wrong, it's really rewarding, it's brilliant. But yeah, it really weird.
Kids in a classroom. That's
oh man, 30 come and they've all got their individual needs and quirks, and they want your attention. There's never a minute. It's constant. And then you get home and writing is probably the last thing you want to do. So mostly writing for me, if it's during term time, it does tend to be the weekends. I mean, as I say, I come home and I spend my time with my own kids until they go to the beds, and then if you have to write then. Now, if I'm on a deadline, I will do it. I will stay awake somehow, just get those out and go for it. But yeah, during term time, there's not a huge amount of writing that happens. But teaching does have certain advantages that do help. Like, as I said at the beginning, reading to children every day, reading with children, having all that experience of different middle grade novels, having them at your fingertips is great. Because I organise the library at the school, because I'm ordering books, I'm reading all the time. So that's a massive help, when I'm doing my own writing. And also, I've got a bit of a captive audience, because when I write stories, I read them to my classes, and they're not allowed to go anywhere. So they have to. And it's really helpful because, like, another key piece of advice I would give to writers is reading your work aloud is so important, because teachers will read these out loud to their classes, parents will read these out loud to the children. Reading it out loud, you hear how well it flows, how it sounds, and that's really, really key. So when I'm reading it to a class, sometimes I'll get to a point like, oh, actually, that doesn't quite click for me. I need to tweak that. I need to go home and change that. But also I can gauge like how successful it is. Like, are they laughing at the right points, or are they on the edge of their seats at this moment? And if not, why not? What can I do to change that? So that's really helpful. And as you mentioned, there are, a few weeks holiday every year. So that helps to do a lot of writing on my holidays. But I suffer from something called writer's guilt. I don't know if you suffer from this or if you've heard of this, but when you're writing and your family, your children and your wife are off doing something else and you really feel like you should be there,
Mm-hmm.
feel really bad, like really guilty that I'm sat writing my stories and, I should probably be out doing things with them. So again, even during the holidays, I will get up and write early in the morning, or I will stay up and write late at night when the kids are in bed, just because I then want my time in between to be free to spend as much time with them as I can. So I've been on holiday for 2 weeks right now. I'm absolutely knackered because that's exactly what I've been doing. I've been writing every day, every morning, every night, just about. And that's just the way it is. But like in terms of fitting in writing and having a day job and having other commitments out with that, I mean, my advice would be always have a notepad with you, always have something handy to write something down, because you never know when inspiration's going to come along, and it's always at the most unfortunate times. It's like when you're driving and you can't write anything down, or like you're in the shower and you think, oh, that'd be a really good idea. I can't write that down. Try and have a notepad as much as humanly possible. Don't take one into the shower, that won't work. And if you're able to, if you can, and if you're motivated enough to do it, then try and set some time aside. Maybe it's an hour every night, but make that like a non-negotiable. Like, that's my writing time. If devices go off, don't go on Twitter. Don't do it, because you'll spend all your time messages.
That's a struggle for me, for sure.
Yeah.
Doom scrolling in the end. Like, you just,
The rest of the world just has to be put away for an hour, and that's your writing time, and nothing touches that. And I also find something that's really helped me is having deadlines. Like, if you impose a deadline on yourself, like, I must have so many chapters written by this date, this time. If you don't have a deadline, then it's really easy to, not writing and to procrastinate and to do other things. But if you're like, actually, I need to have this done by next week, then you find the time and you get it done. But it's hard. It is. Like, my other advice would be, if you marry someone who's really, really wealthy and they can support you, that's good. Try that. See how that goes. That's
amazing. Yeah, I love that. My husband probably won't agree. He's a creative like me, so generally there's not much money in anything creatively. So I'll have to try and find another one. But great advice. So we know that you're fitting writing in around everything that you're doing. So are you allowed to tell us what's next? What's in the pipeline for you, or what you're working on? I know it's also secretive, isn't it?
It is. It's like secret society. I don't know how much to say. I don't know how much I like to say. What I can say is that I just finished writing a book yesterday.
Amazing. At the end of the holidays, you've done it. Was that a deadline? Did you have set yourself that deadline?
Yeah, it had to be done. I had to be finished by Wednesday yesterday, and it was done. So that will be winging its way to my agent just as soon as I've typed up the last 2 chapters, which I'll do tomorrow, Kate, I promise. And then it's on to the next thing. Like, I don't really, I finished it. I was like, yay. And then I'm very much on to the next thing. I don't spend a lot of time sort of celebrating or I've got so many ideas and my time's quite limited. So it's like, right, what's the next one? Which one do I feel the strongest about?
Is it aliens, or can you more superheroes?
The one that I finished yesterday may have aliens in it. Yeah. So that'll go out to Kate, and then hopefully that'll be out on submission with publishers very, very soon. And we'll wait and see what comes from that. And in the meantime, I'll be writing some more. I've got some ideas for quite a few things. As I say, I'd quite like to have a graphic novel script at some point. I feel I should probably do that. And I've also got more events coming up. Slugboy was published quite a few years ago, but I still get people getting in touch and asking, can I come along to things? So November, the middle of November is Book Week Scotland. So I'm doing an event at a library for that. And just keeping busy. We'll see what happens.
That's amazing. And it just sounds like there's so much good stuff happening for you. And I wish you all the luck going out on submission with your new Alien book that I really want to know more about. But I'm sure I will discover, because it just sounds like, if just going by our chat, I can see that what you write is definitely what kids love. So I can imagine it doing really well. But I do wish you all the best with that, and so much luck. And please do just keep me informed if you can, and let me know how you're getting on. And hopefully we can have more news, and you'll be back on the show again with some more exciting news another time, because I would love that. I'd love to chat again with you.
Yes, I will hold you to that, and the same to you with your writing journey. Congratulations again on the new job, which is very exciting.
Yay,
and
thank you.
yeah, hopefully at some point we can swap books.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I would absolutely love that.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on tonight. It's been really good fun.
Oh, thanks so much, Mark. It's been great to have you on, and I'm so glad that it got to here, because I feel like it was, like I said earlier, it's been so long ago that we booked you on. So I'm so glad that we got to this day, and that you joined me. It's been great to hear about your journey, and I wish you all the luck with your new book.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate
it. See you later. Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, it was great to chat to Mark. Really fun to hear about his journey. I love hearing about how everyone started writing and how they found their agents. It's just been amazing. So I just wanted to thank you all for tuning in and joining. And if you're watching on catch up, that is also amazing. And I'm so glad that you're here and that you're supporting Kidlit Live. I do really appreciate it. So I'd never say it, but do like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff when it comes to YouTube. And I will see you all next week. See you later.